it is that time of year where everything farm to table, garden to table is in prime season. And so I thought, you know what, it would be really fun to take you along over the next couple of days and we can just make a whole bunch of tasty summer meals. I'm cooking for my family of 7. Last evening, we went and picked these cherries just down the road. My mother-in-law offered if we wanted any of her cherries. She has a big cherry tree, loads of fresh cherries. But in the meantime, I wanted to get the freeze dryer going again. This thing goes pretty much nonstop in the summer as I'm trying to preserve all these herbs, especially that's a big focus of mine, as well as some teas. While you're watching, let me know in the comments below what you're cooking this week, especially if it's season specific. I would love to hear. Almost forgot to light a candle. This, by the way, fresh roasted coffee, still one of my top, probably 2 favorites. And that's gonna be our scent of the day. It's wild how much it like condenses after you freeze dry it. It literally, those 5 trays turned into this much dill, but it smells delicious and I can't wait to have this on hand and use it through the winter when you can't do fresh. So let's grab a basket and scissors and see if our lavender is still any good. My goodness, it's toasty out there today. It has been a hot week. I think 2 days ago, it was heat index values up to 109. So summer has officially arrived. But this is what the lavender looks like. It is always so fun to pick and it dries really well too. I was half debating just cutting it all because it is time now. It's still beautiful right now, but you can tell just a couple of the blooms were starting to turn brown. And so I was thinking of just picking it all and hanging it to dry. I'm not gonna do it right now. The pollinators are having lavender heaven out there and loving it so much. So I am gonna leave the rest for now at least, and then maybe I'll pick it later. But this I think will be plenty for the freeze dryer. I have the freeze dryer like pre-cooling. I guess it needs to cool for 15 minutes and then we can pop these in. So in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and pit our cherries. My mother-in-law has this cherry pitter that she let us borrow, but it kind of squirts the juice and gets messy, so the girls are just setting it up outside on the picnic table, and so we'll pit them there and then we'll come in and actually make our cobbler. To make this cobbler, and this is by the way a super simple recipe, I have it from my mother-in-law and they grew up eating this kind of I think once or twice a summer, and so it's very nostalgic for Josh. But to start off with, I just put 2 sticks of butter, so a cup of butter in this pan, and I'm actually gonna toss it into the oven to melt this while I mix the rest of the batter. The recipe calls for 2 cups of flour and then some sugar. I'm going to use raw honey instead of the sugar, so I'm going to add or increase the flour a little bit. So I'm going to do more like 2.5, 2 3/4 even cups of fresh milled flour, and then we're going to do about a cup of raw honey. People usually want to know where I get my big buckets of honey from. We get this from a local farmer to my family in Canada. So when we go visit them in Canada, we pick up buckets of honey because we get it for a much better price and it is just delicious, creamy, raw honey. All right, we'll do a cup of that along with 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Got a pinch of salt, and then 1.5 cups of milk. Okay, let's check the butter. Ooh, that's looking perfect. Little bit brown. So now all we have to do is layer this. Such a simple recipe. So I'm just gonna leave the butter in here. We'll just spoon the batter onto the butter, top it with cherries, and pop it in the oven to bake. I'm trying to think when the last time is that I had this. It has been a while, so this will be a special treat. Okay, and then I'll take about 4 cups of these sour pie cherries, and we'll just sprinkle them on top. The recipe calls for sprinkling another cup of sugar over the top of this. We are trying to avoid sugar right now, and so I'm just gonna sprinkle a bit of xylitol on this. All right, and then we'll pop it into the oven to bake. Just popped a couple loaves of sourdough bread into the oven. Hopefully we can make some delicious sandwiches a little bit later on today. But for breakfast, I thought, you know what? We're starting out hot again. Let's have some fun with a cantaloupe bowl. So obviously these cantaloupes are much too big for one per kid, but we can split them up after they are put together. These are just getting in season here for us, along with blueberries. It's definitely blueberry season. And then Leslie just went out to pick some raspberries. We also have raspberries coming in the garden right now. So a lot of delicious fruits. So I think we're gonna have a little fun with this. I made some homemade yogurt the other day, so that's what this is. And then I also pulled some blackberry powder because I love neutrals in a lot of things. But my food I want as colorful as it can be, so that's gonna be the goal here. We're gonna try to make these as colorful as we can. Does that sound good? Okay, right now my yogurt is just plain, so I'm gonna put some of that in the bowl. Bless you. And then we'll take our freeze-dried blackberries that have been blended, but you still have seeds, so I like to sieve this in just to get a pretty purple color in our yogurt. Okay, Leslie just brought in, we have the raspberries. I have some pansies that the girls grew in their garden, so this is gonna be fun. Now for the fun part, we have our cantaloupe. I'm just gonna put some of this now blackberry yogurt inside of each, and then we'll garnish it with all of this, and then you can eat it. See, it's like, yeah, it's like a bowl. Getting serenaded here as I get started on lunch, but it is a while later now, and I am getting ready to make, I think the official name is Croque Madame type of sandwich. I haven't made these in so long, and I was so hungry for them today. So got my fresh baked sourdough bread here. We have some fresh herbs. I have my cheese. I actually have the ham in the oven because it was still frozen and I still need to slice it. So hopefully that goes well. To start off with here, I'm actually gonna slice my bread and then I'll continue with my sauce. I already started with the bechamel sauce. Again, I hope I'm not butchering these names, but Josh ran out to grab some more milk because I need to add that. It's essentially like a white sauce, but you add some nutmeg and some Dijon mustard then. So it should be pretty quick and easy to assemble. When I am cutting bread for sandwiches, first of all, an electric knife. A lot of you have commented on that. Yes, I love using an electric knife for cutting bread. I could just get much more even slices, and especially if I want thin slices, which is my preference for sandwiches, so it's not so much bread. So that's why I'm using that. Okay, I have a lot of butter in my pan here. So I'm just gonna take the bread and dip both sides, and then we'll put it on our baking tray here. Just quick little dips, you don't want it. Butter is good, but within reason. Okay, and then I'm just gonna assemble the sandwiches. Put some ham on. So we need a little more. And then we'll sprinkle some cheese on. This is shredded mozzarella. And then we'll top it. And for the top, I'll just dip one side and put the buttered side up. Okay, I'm gonna pop these in the oven for about 6 minutes or until the cheese is melted and the top is nice and golden. In the meantime, I'm actually gonna fry some eggs because we'll top these with an egg then. Okay, we've got a nice little crust here and the cheese is melted. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some of this bechamel sauce on, and then we'll sprinkle a little bit more cheese on top and broil it. And then the egg goes on top of this. All right, bon appetit, as they would say. Let's go enjoy some lunch. Well, it is a bit of a dark and rainy day here this morning, but I have some croissant dough, and what you just saw me do, by the way, is cottage cheese. I'm getting some cottage cheese going again. 2 batches of croissant dough. Again, I love my croissant dough. I thought it would be fun to try to make like hamburger buns with this. I have no idea how these are gonna turn out, but you never know until you try, right? And so that is my plan, and we will just see how it goes. I've done all of the stretch and folds to this, and then at the point where you would usually pop it in the fridge for a minimum of 2 hours, I just left it in there overnight again, and we had friends over last evening, so now I'm just getting to them now, and I'm gonna just try dividing them and kind of, I don't want to mess with the layers too much, so we will just see how this goes. I cut them into little pieces like this, and I'm just gently kind of folding this back so that if anything, we're just making even more layers instead of ruining any layers. So I'm just kind of tucking that in on the sides, and then I'll just roll it a little bit. You can already tell from just this rolling action that the butter softens where your hand touches it. So I don't want too much of that happening. Definitely experimenting. This is how I cook, and I find especially when I get in a little bit of a rut. The past week, as it's been so hot, heat index values were up to 109. And when it gets like that, I lose a lot of motivation to cook. I just want cold fruit, things like that. And so anyway, sometimes I have to try something new in order to get out of a little cooking rut, and I thought this would be a fun thing to try and have some burgers. Well, I feel like we've been highlighting a lot on the fresh fruits and veggies of the season, especially going heavy on the fruits there. But another thing that we do a lot farm to table here on the farm is meats. And so we raise a lot of our own meat. We currently don't do our own chickens, which we would love to do sometime, but a lot of beef and pork. And so I thought today, for a fun quintessential summer meal, we would make some hamburgers. So yesterday I ended up bringing a meal to a friend and just didn't end up filming more, but I did get the croissant rolls done. Let me show them to you. They are super, super light, and I'm just excited to cut into this and see what the layers actually look like. So that should be delicious, but I'm mixing up my burgers right now. I love making these from scratch, and I don't have a recipe that I follow, and I don't measure ingredients, but I can kind of tell you what I put in. So I have 2 packs of ground beef. I just put in some sourdough breadcrumbs, said loosely. I actually just kind of crumble up pieces of bread. I like to put in some garlic. I often also will put in onion. This is homemade ketchup that I like to put in. And then I'm doing a little bit of pepper, some salt, and then I actually usually put in a little bit of milk as well. And then we had our eggs, and I'll just mix this together. And then I have a little hamburger press. This is totally optional, but as many hamburgers as we make, this is really nice to have. I bought this, I don't know, a couple years ago, probably $5 or $10 on Amazon. I will try to remember to link that, but we'll shape it with that. Take them out to the grill. So I normally just dive in here with my hands and kind of squish it all together so I can break that ground beef apart. If the mixture is dry, you can add more milk. If it's wet, you can add more breadcrumbs, and then I just kind of cater it to my needs that way. Josh just took the burgers out there to put on the grill, and in the meantime, I'm gonna shell some corn here, or husk some corn, I should say. Our corn isn't ready yet, but this is local corn just getting in season, which is super exciting. So we're gonna add that as a little side dish to our burgers here. I'm gonna run this cheese out to Josh. I realized I don't have sliced cheese, but I do have some shredded cheese, so maybe we can just melt that on top of the burgers. And then I think what these need yet are a purple onion from the garden. I've only pulled 1 onion so far, but they are looking beautiful, and I think I might find one big enough to use. Add a little more color, and I love thinly sliced onions on my burgers, so we'll grab those yet, and then I think we'll be ready to eat. That should work. Okay, this is what we're looking like. Honey, are you gonna come taste test it?
I love it. It's really good.
Another really fun idea for summer is one that I did a couple years ago now for 4th of July. And I'm actually thinking of doing it again this year for 4th of July, and that is a watermelon cake. When I did it the first time, I actually covered my whole watermelon in whipping cream, and people didn't even know it was watermelon until we cut into it, which was fun. This year we're thinking of doing little mini ones, which I think would be really cute as well. For today, I think I'm gonna try to do more of a layered watermelon. So if you've never had a watermelon cake before, it's basically watermelon with whipping cream, and I actually didn't have enough whipping cream, so I have probably about half whipping cream, and then the rest is homemade Greek yogurt that I mixed into there. And then I just like to top it with a bunch of different fruits. The girls are gonna go pick some of their pansies to put on it, and it's just a really fun, healthier dessert option for summer. Trickiest part is trying to get all these edges semi-smooth. Okay, I think we'll call that good enough. And then, I'm actually gonna try to slice it. Grabbed a clean kitchen towel, and I'm just gonna dry these as best as I can. Just helps the whipping cream, or in this case, whipping cream and yogurt, stick better. But I'm just gonna spread a bit of a layer between here. I lost my big icing tip. I need to, I guess, order another one. Be really cute to pipe all this too. Okay, and then we'll dry the underside and the top. And then we'll just keep going with the rest of this. This top one made it a little bit heavy, so we're gonna poke one of these in here. A little hack my cake decorating sister taught me, and then I'll just clean up the edges. Other times I've never done it in layers like this, either covered the full side or just put some whipping cream on the top. So learning as we go. Okay, I gotta say, this is probably the least pretty one that I've made, which is a bummer. I should have went with something that I know works. But it's okay, we'll still have fun with it. I would say though, doing any of the other methods is probably a better idea than this whole layered thing, just because it slides. And so now we look a little topsy-turvy. I'm gonna cover my kebab stick here with just a slice of watermelon, and then we can pop all these fun different fruits and berries and things on to help decorate it. Well, she's definitely not the prettiest cake on the block, but you get the idea. I promise I have done this and it looks beautiful. But again, I would not recommend this whole layered thing unless if you think of a way to actually make the whipping cream stick. I wonder if it makes a difference too that I put in the yogurt. I'm not sure, because I did see a picture of it done this way once. Regardless, this took like 10 minutes and is impressive when you do it right. Yesterday I actually brought one out to my friend who just had a baby, and I just left the whole watermelon intact and then did this thing on the top, and it was really fun and it looked a lot better than this. To me, looks pretty sloppy, but it will be delicious. It's a nice, like, healthier option for cookouts, parties, grilling, pool parties, all the things. If you've been around for a while, you know how much I love a good loaded salad, and this evening we actually have plans. We need to be left in about an hour, and so I need to be on it with dinner, and I thought it would be delicious. It got quite humid and warm outside again, And when that happens, I just want all the fresh fruits and veggies. And so this is a good excuse to have a loaded salad. Not all of this is from my garden. This lettuce I picked up at a local Amish stand. I did have lettuce in my garden, but it's already bolted and done. However, I did go out there and pick my very first head of cabbage of the season. It is beautiful. I am so excited for all the cabbage out there. I have quite a lot of cabbage this year, hoping to make a lot of good sauerkraut. And then I also picked up these green onions in the garden, and then the pepper and the carrots are also from that Amish stand. So this is kind of an Asian inspired salad with the cabbage and then also some nuts. And then I do have some already cooked chicken that I want to top it with. It's going to be super simple, but hopefully super delicious as well.
It's so unnecessary dwelling about the past, 'cause I know that God is good and sometimes I feel like giving up, but everything happens for a reason. There won't always be blue skies ahead. Sometimes you might need a helping hand, just like I am, sharp as iron, making me stronger, calling me higher. When we come together, just like I am, sharp as iron, making us stronger, calling us higher. When we're helping each other, we're growing together.
All right, and that is dinner quick before we run out of the door tonight. It looks so delicious. This is definitely my kind of meal, especially in the summer. I hope you enjoyed following along this week. I know it was definitely not exactly what I had in mind, but sometimes life just happens and you go with the flow. So I hope you still gained some inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, friends.
Golden, golden thing.